This is Merijn. He is a popular YouTuber, men's physique competitor, and all-around fitness guy who, up until recently, was known for being part of an increasingly exclusive club, natural fitness YouTubers. This is why his announcement in 2020 was so surprising in particular.
I made a decision to start TRT. So basically, TRT means testosterone replacement therapy. I've been thinking about this for the past about 2 years.
At the time, I did a video in response to this, and although I do recommend watching my video in its entirety, the gist of it was pretty much this. First, testosterone replacement therapy is taking steroids. You may be doing less of it, and it may be coming from a doctor. However, at the end of the day, it's the same thing. Synthetic male anabolic hormones. And secondly, in Merijn's case, he did claim it was for mostly medical reasons due to him having low testosterone symptoms, and although low T is a real problem for thousands of men out there and they do need medical intervention, you can't help but wonder if he maybe jumped the gun a little bit. If perhaps fixing his life circumstances, like not trying to perpetually exist at 8% body fats, maybe this would have been a better solution as opposed to immediately jumping on the the juicy juice. However, as you can tell by the title of this video, this story continues to have interesting developments. And today I am going to try my best to give you my unbiased and most importantly, unfiltered opinion. So considering the topic of the day is testosterone, you may want to know your own personal values, and fortunately, that is where the sponsor of today's video comes in, Let's Get Checked. Let's Get Checked is a fast and inexpensive service that provides health blood tests you can do from the privacy of your own home. I personally use and recommend the Male Hormone Plus test as it provides you with a reading of testosterone, SHBG, and estrogen. This way, if something comes back outside of the normal range, especially if it's low testosterone, you will know right away that it may be time to speak to a doctor or at the very least start implementing some lifestyle changes to get those numbers up. Also, they gave me a promo code, so you guys can get 30% off your entire order using code Vitruvian. If you have never checked your hormones, or if you have in the past and want to get an update to make sure that they're still at healthy levels, check out Let's Get Checked using the link in the description box below.
Look at that. Look at the tricep. Baby, look at this. Look at that. Look at this. Look at that. Look at this. That's right.
Because I decided to quit testosterone. TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, as many of you guys know, which I started right now, it's about 1.5 years ago. Today I'm going to talk about why it was a mistake, why I decided to do it back then, my thoughts about it now, how I'm feeling, how I'm recovering.
So just to recap, Merijn started on the TRT process, I think it was around summer of 2020. So now we're dealing with something about 1.5 years later.
So first, let's get into the reasons why I decided to use TRT in the first place. One was for my mood and my depression-like feelings. That was one of the reasons. When I was 19 years old, I started my career and I started making YouTube videos and I started to get into the fitness game and I built a really big name for myself internationally, which was all, you know, it's crazy, man. But after like multiple years, a lot of things, you know, came on top of that. You know, I started hiring people, started, you know, growing my team. And so combine that with a lot of outside pressure from social media and all those things. We see a lot of people now, you know, because of social media getting depressed.
Okay, so right off the bat, this is interesting because we're kind of early into the video, so he's obviously talking about some of the most important things and the most important reasons for why he did this, and it's not even necessarily physique-based, at least not yet. The way he's describing this sounds very similar to how I've heard people talk about, like, recreational drug use. Like, we've all seen, you know, like Wolf of Wall Street, sleeping like 2 hours a night, taking cocaine or other shit, you know, uppers.
Cocaine and hookers, my friend.
To kind of keep them going and keep up with this lifestyle, you know, otherwise they're just gonna burn out. Except in this case, they end up taking drugs and they still end up burning out, just they push it back a little bit.
I started working even more, and this is when, you know, the problems like later came in. So after about a year, even less, you know, I just started to experience that stress again that I was before, and that stress became more chronic stress, and then until the point of burnout. I talked about this in the other video.
He did a video and then he kind of just disappeared. He like ghosted off of YouTube for a little while, and it was called like I'm burnt out, I'm taking a break. And essentially in that video he talked about how, I guess, like all the pressures of life, the pressures of, I mean guys, like I don't talk about it as much, but YouTube can be a very high pressure job. Just the fact that there are potentially thousands of you watching, everybody's got their own opinions, everyone's sometimes, you know, judging for this or that, it could get relatively difficult. But it's crazy because I remember him talking about in 2020, that video about how he wants testosterone to kind of help with this, to kind of help him feel better in terms of like energy and mood and this and that. And then even on TRT, it didn't help. He's still burnt out. Again, like I said earlier, if there are underlying problems, you can kind of like, you can kind of cramp them down with other shit that you are taking, but until you solve those issues, it's not going to go away. It's just going to, you know, procrastinate on them.
Because I was training for 10 years, I hit my natural limit. Some people will say like, no, you didn't hit it. I was, if I hit it or not, I was certainly freaking close, you know? And you can see that by all the times I was cutting down the last couple of years, 2 to 3 years. I was always looking sort of the same, you know? I wasn't really making gains anymore, you know? And then the personal aspect is that I wanted to do it also because it would make training more fun. And that part, there was also a problem with that because yeah, it made training more fun in the beginning. But that only lasted for a while as well, because then you hit another plateau, you know, you have to start taking more drugs and you know, more anabolics and other stuff.
This right here, he's absolutely right, and this is a big reason why I, to this day, even right now at age 30, I've been working out since I was 14, so over half my life, and I'm not bullshitting anyone. I've thought about anabolics. I think anybody who takes training seriously has thought about it. If not, they're lying. A lot of us fitness guys, and I know Merijn for a fact falls into this as well, we don't just do this for the product that we get. We do it for the journey. Going up a few pounds in muscle visually in the mirror every few months, getting leaner, getting bigger, all these things. The process is so fun. Look, testosterone or drugs or whatever you do is gonna open the door for you past your genetic potential, but it's gonna lead you to a new door which has been pushed back based on how much drugs you're taking. It's gonna become a point where it's a game of chemistry. It becomes a game of drugs. You start taking something, you hit a new plateau 6 months later after gaining 5 or 10 pounds. You're not gonna think, how should I start training now? Should I add this in? Should I change my diet? You're gonna be like, fuck it, no, more drugs. Don't get me wrong, it's still important. But if training has always been maxed out, if you were training maxed out 10 out of 10 in intensity and strategy and everything when you were natural, you can't really go higher than 10 out of 10. So what do? You focus on what you can change, the drugs. And that's what makes bodybuilding a sport of chemistry than of training and nutrition and all the shit that I fell in love with it for. This is a big reason why I've really been, for years now, apprehensive about doing it. And it seems like he's really kind of just confirming my fears.
I was so focused in this fitness bubble bodybuilding world that I wanted to do better at bodybuilding, at being bigger and having more muscle. Well, actually, like my physique natural was freaking good, man, and that's why I feel shit about it as well, because it was so good after 10 years of training, and then I still wanted more, and I think that was just wrong. Steroids and TRT, it starts to get normalized a lot.
This is a huge point. Number one, it's insane that he was like, my physique is insufficient. He came second place at a pretty high level men's physique competition. He is like technically an international fitness model who travels the country and works with various supplement clothing companies. He's built a business on this, and yet after all that, still unsatisfied. And most likely, he's pretty much said, it's because of social media. This is a huge fucking problem. I see stuff like this all the time.
Have you ever spared a pig or a cow because it begged you for its life?
I see stuff like this all the time. You know, like these TikToks of, I mean, yeah, they're kind of like jokes or they're kind of like memes, but it's kind of crazy how things like trend have become like kind of like a meme now. Like, haha, that's crazy. I would never do that. Oh my God, it's so wild. But if I were to do that, where would I? Where could I get it? It gives people, it normalizes it. Oh man, you don't take tren, bro. You're missing out. Oh, hop on the tren. Oh, what are you doing with my tren? Oh, blah blah blah. And eventually, people kind of like, yeah, it's not that bad. It's this is a problem. This is something which I think is going to affect a lot more people. And unfortunately, there's not as much of a defense against this anymore. Back maybe like 5-10 years ago, there was two defenses against this. Number one is that people just didn't really talk about it, which might not necessarily be a good thing because people are not transparent. There's much more of a fake natty problem, but at least it was like, you can't really do something if you don't know that much about it. And if you assume nobody around you is doing it. However, when it's the opposite, everyone's talking about it, everyone's doing it, well, suddenly it's not that big of a deal. And the other defense mechanism back then was, again, not many people were doing it because you turn on social media, you've got Chris Lovato, Matt Ogus, Nick Wright, Omar Isuf, all these good old hard-working natural bodybuilders, and now, not the case. A lot of the biggest names in fitness now are taking it, or in some cases openly taking it, kind of like the more natural side of the industry. It's becoming smaller and smaller. It's becoming a smaller and more exclusive club, and the smaller that voice becomes, the more it's drowned out, and the more that new, younger guys who get into this realize like there isn't even another option, or they don't really even like know about it that much. That's one of the crappy things about like the natural side of the sport becoming so diminished, especially at a young age. I mean, if you're doing something at 30, fine, whatever. But like when I see like 19-year-old kids doing like counting all the shit they take, I'm like, it's kind of sad.
I decided to quit. This was over 12 weeks ago by now. First, I had to, wait for the testosterone to clear my system, and when you get prescribed here, and guys, this prescription, you're not just going to get it, okay? It's in the Netherlands. This is very difficult, and I got a lot of questions about this as well. I do have certain connections and money. They change a lot of things. That's the reality of life also. And maybe at the same time that's a bad thing, because that's why I was able to get it, So anyway, it's Sustanon what they prescribe here.
I think he said Sustanon, which if I remember correctly is pretty much a mix-up of various testosterone esters. I think it's what it's called. It's kind of like, I think it's like 4 different versions of testosterone. There's like all these different propionate, cypionate, enanthate, blah, 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 blate. And essentially this one is just like a combination of all 4 of them. It's just, it's injectable testosterone. That's all you need to know.
I had to take 2 or 3 weeks without it at all, and then started PCT, and that's post-cycle therapy, in order to restart your natural testosterone production. And the ones that I took were a Nolvadex, Clomid, and HCG.
Okay, he's taking... At this point, it's like, what's that saying? If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, fucks like a duck. This is a cycle, okay? I'm taking TRT. I'm taking TRT for my connection. This is a steroid cycle. It is what it is.
I think I've been very lucky. My blood values show that after 12 weeks, my testosterone levels are higher than they were when I started, which is actually sort of ridiculous when you think about it. In the Netherlands, we have like the way that I tested it, the reference is like from 6 to 30. And when I took testosterone during this time, my values were around 6 to 7.
Okay, that is shit. The unit he's using is nanomoles per liter. The unit that I commonly reference is nanograms per deciliter, but essentially all you need to understand is that the average testosterone range for, normal young men without any medical conditions is usually around 300, give or take, to 900, with the average being somewhere in that 550 range. Him having, let's take the upper level, he said 6 to 7, so 7 nanomoles per liter. That's about 200 nanograms per deciliter. That is crap. Might be something seriously wrong, or just a garbaggio lifestyle. Again, in terms of sleep, stress, low body fat percentage, everything.
So now after 12 weeks, those testosterone values are not 6 or 7, but they're actually 14. And so
14 is like, now he's up to around like 405, give or take, nanograms per deciliter. So it's much more into the normal healthy range for men. It's still on kind of like on the lower end of normal, and it's still something which I would not be thrilled by, For example, my levels, I've done a couple tests, again, with Let's Get Checked, the sponsor of today's video, and I'm always somewhere around like 650 to 750.
How are they higher? I'm really not working that much. I'm just sleeping a lot more. I have been taking different sort of supplements, like a natural testosterone booster, the ZMA, the zinc, magnesium, DAA.
Yeah, so people have always asked me, and I've done videos in the past on testosterone boosters, and I always say that 99% of the time they are shit and they are useless if you are a regular healthy guy, because they don't really work in most cases to push you beyond where you are if you're normal. However, if you're low test, some studies have actually shown that this stuff can help. Things like zinc, things like, what other supplements are there? Like, D-aspartic acid. Even like, these weird like herbs and shit like tribulus. 99% of the time this is bullshit unless you have low test. In those cases, yes. But if you're someone normal, if you have a 500-600, nanograms per deciliter testosterone, most of these like natural testosterone boosting supplements, they ain't gonna do shit besides burn a hole in your wallet.
And I've also been taking testosterone. That's what I started taking after my PCT. Because I talked to Greg Doucette, who always makes the videos and about this stuff, and I asked him like what I should do for PCT, and he told me that I could add that onto it as well. So I also took testosterone. I don't know what that effect has been on my testosterone levels.
Here, let me save you the trouble. Nothing. It won't do shit to your testosterone. It doesn't. That's not the right pathway. It binds to your estrogen receptor pathway. Doesn't bind to your androgen receptor. It's not testosterone based. Honestly, fuck Greg, really, god damn it, he just had to weasel testosterone in. Do you have a problem with your testosterone? You need to take testosterone. Got a problem with your taxes? Fucking testosterone. Your wife left you? Testosterone will bring her back. He's starting to go a bit overboard with this. I remember when Derek from More Plates, More Dates came out with testosterone originally in 2020, he approached it from a more so like realistic standpoint. Even at best, he's like, listen guys, this is maybe like a 3 or 4 out of 10 supplement. Greg makes it seem like this shit's gonna give you magic powers and shoot fucking lasers out your eyes. I put on 4 or 5 pounds of muscle in a month. I'm not saying you won't do it, but I did. This like anecdotal lack of actual real evidence bullshit is starting to get really out of hand. I mean, come on. Oh, look at this. Some 17-year-old teenager put on 100 pounds on his deadlift using testosterone. That's amazing. Could it be that, or could it be that he was going through fucking puberty? Sure, use it, go ahead, but is it gonna do shit for your test? Probably, definitely not.
Yeah, right now I'm just slowly making progress again, and in different ways. So I'm doing calisthenics now, I'm doing boxing, and just different stuff to make it more fun for myself as well. And I want to be more flexible and then do different stuff.
Yes, this. I've talked about it before, and guess what? I'm gonna talk about it again. This is what you need to do if you are a natural bodybuilder and if you've been training consistently for over 5 years and you're getting close to your genetic potential. You need to do something else. You don't need to replace fitness. Hell, I'm never going to replace fitness. You need to learn to do something else in conjunction. You can't simply, again, your body's not an ornament, it's an instrument. And if you forget that, you're going to try to make yourself a bigger ornament using shit like this. You need to perform. Again, this could be calisthenics, fantastic. Boxing, excellent. If you're into strength training, not just to like look bigger, but you actually like powerlifting, okay, it's not a bad idea. There's a lot of other things in that, besides just putting on more muscle, skill, technique. There are things that you can do which don't solely rely on your DNA and your limited genetic potential for accumulating muscle over what is essentially 4 to 5 years of your life. And after that, it's kind of like, okay, I'm sorry, but you're kind of done. For me, this is rock climbing, and I've talked about this before, and I know I sound like a broken record, but this is something which has become so invaluable to me because I could progress. And the beautiful thing about it is I could progress without constantly having at the back of my mind, hey, you know what would help? Drugs. And of course it's slowed down, and now I have to kind of get more intelligent about what I have to do if I want to progress. I have to do things like specifically training my finger strength with hangboard training, using that thing on the wall. I have to watch YouTube videos talking about like hand positioning and, footwork and feet technique. I need to work on my flexibility. I need to do all these things, and it's kind of cool and fun because it's not simply based on like what my hormonal panel is.
Will I do it again? No, definitely not. If I'm at an older age and my test goes down at like 40 years old, sure, to improve my quality of life. That is a different situation. I was like 26 years old when I did this, and it's a whole different situation. I think that with social media, it just puts a lot of pressure on all of us, and you open Instagram, you see all these guys, and maybe you're like, I want to get there too. And I can tell you guys, man, I've accomplished a lot, with my physique and with my business and with making money and with traveling the world. Like I've done all the crazy shit and all the dreams that everybody dreams of and sees on Instagram. And I can tell you guys that during that time, like it doesn't matter how you look or how much money you have. If you don't feel good on the inside, man, it's all worth nothing, man. And that's just very important to know.
He's right. Yes. I mean, health is wealth. And in his case, he was broke. This is pretty much the end of the video. I can end it here for him. And he's right. It's just crazy because I'm sure a lot of people out there browse, social media, and they see guys like Merijn, successful, like every other week or every other month he's in Ibiza, he's in some other cool place. It seems like his whole life is one big vacation, but simultaneously he's lean. And they're like, man, I want to be like him. And I can do that if I do all these things, one of which is his physique, and one of the ways I can do that is take X compound, potentially. But it's crazy because while there are people following him thinking that, he is following other people thinking the same thing. It's like the little fish eats the bigger fish, eats the biggest fish, and everybody's collectively miserable because they all want to be what isn't even real to begin with. It happened to Merijn, and I felt like that at times as well, which is why sometimes I have to kind of remind myself by making videos like this, yelling at the camera, or fortunately, thank you to him, watching honest videos like this, which tell you the truth, which in some cases is not all that pretty. Guys, it's true. Comparison really is the thief of joy. He learned it the hard way. Don't make the same mistake. And again, I'm happy. Kudos to him for putting out this video. Either way, guys, that's it for me on this topic. I apologize if this video wasn't very long. It's just it's a lot to say, and it is an important topic, and it's something which I do want to talk about. I will talk about in the near future, because like I said, the natural fitness club on YouTube and in social media has been shrinking over the years, and that means it's more of a responsibility to their few remaining members, such as myself, to kind of make ourselves known that, hey, you want to do that, that's okay. But if you don't, like us, you can still live this lifestyle. You can still be one of us, and you can still, like in the case of Merijn, build a pretty fucking damn great physique. You're just not going to be 220 and 3% body fat, and you know what? That's okay.